This is a first. We have an infant.
We do.
In the studio for the Time Out Show. Coach Olivia Varney, how are you?
I'm doing well.
And talk about your assistant over here.
Well, during the season, actually, the week of tryouts, I gave birth to Elsie Varney, who then designated or got about 19 aunts during the season. So this is Elsie making her celebrity appearance here in Hillsdale.
She's too cute, and what a princess. She's so well behaved over here. Better than most of my guests, I have to tell you.
The benefit of having a passy.
I've just gone through that myself with my kids. Olivia, you guys had incredible success this year with your team. ISL back-to-back conference champions. Obviously a nice job in the postseason tournament as well. Congratulations on a great year.
Thank you. I'm extremely proud of our team. We did some amazing things on and off the field. And it was great to be reigning champs again for the conference of ISL.
Let's talk about girls soccer at Jonesville. They are the returning champs. So the Big 8 doesn't have a soccer league. So you do this ISL league. Can you tell me some of the teams that participate in that conference?
Sure. Our conference is Springport, Quincy, Jackson Christian, Hillsdale, Hanover Horton. That's our conference.
So obviously you guys won it twice now. Who is the toughest competition in that conference for you?
Springport. I think our rival is Springport. We always have a good showing there. They always come ready to play, and a bit of a rivalry has definitely developed over the past 2 years.
Awesome. And so you're playing Hillsdale, which is always a natural rivalry as well. You're playing some of these other teams as well. So is the league pretty competitive, or did you have a lot of blowout wins this year?
It was a mixture. We had a few blowout wins, and then we also had our competitive games against Hanover Horton and Springport.
So now that you're having this success, are you finding greater interest among the students at Jonesville to join the team or look into potentially playing soccer?
Yeah, I think it's definitely building. I would like to get more notoriety in the elementary and middle school and build that, or start building our program from there. But definitely in the high school, we've been getting a lot of recognition, a lot more people coming to the games, and a lot more hype.
Olivia Varney is the head soccer coach at Jonesville High School. They've won back-to-back conference championships. You mentioned your district run. Talk a little bit about how it ended. Obviously, it's always a heartbreaker. Only one team gets to win the last game of the year, right? And that's the state champion. So what happened at the end for your squad?
Well, we came against a nice team of Lumen Christi in the finals this past Saturday. My girls came out ready to play. I described it as more of a David-Goliath kind of match, us being David and Lumen being Goliath. But we definitely came ready to play. They were a really well-coached team. They're very developed and skilled in that aspect. However, the girls, we prepared. We studied the game. We studied their game. And we were definitely ready to play. Just that team ended up coming out and winning the game.
Lumen Christi does that a lot. It's just an excellent sports program, and I know how tough that can be. Talk a little bit about your team. I know you don't want to leave anybody out, but who are some of the people who are maybe going to be recognized with all conference awards, or were some of the people that were really key to your success this year?
First, I want to start talking about my senior, Hannah Ben. Hannah Ben was a junior last year that I asked for her to step up and be a captain for this year's team last year. So she was my pick going into this upcoming season as being a captain, and we had a pretty large preseason conference with just her and I, and kind of her role and how she was going to step into this role, and she really did. She came ready to go. She worked hard in the off season. She rallied the troops during the season and definitely held us together and was the bookends for the season this year. Some other all-conference players was our keeper. She did a really nice job. I think she accumulated 135 saves and only let, 33 goals in. So she did a phenomenal job for us. Another couple players were Katie Brown. She tied the team in leading our goals. Hannah Purdy was the leading assist maker, which is always important for me. And then our defense was led by Sarah Dawson and Maria Ingo. So they all did a fine job for us this year.
Olivia Varney's the head soccer coach at Jonesville High School. They've won back-to-back conference championships. How do you decide whether to put an athlete like a Sarah Dawson up front as a forward or back end on the defense?
That's a fabulous question.
How do you make that decision? Because I think that would be a tough call sometimes.
I needed to play with grit, as she stares at me right now. We lost. Let me first start by saying that this team lost an all-conference, all-district sweeper last year. And so there was huge shoes to fill with Leah Brown being gone. And I had to have a nice conversation as well with Sarah Dawson because I knew she had that tenacity. I think that's what I first look for a defender, someone with a lot of grit, someone with aggressive, but also had some speed. So I looked at Sarah Dawson, and though she was used to playing up top and a little bit of midfield, I really asked her to take control of the defense. She's a natural-born leader, so that also helped fill in Leah's shoes for a defender.
I know I've coached for years, and I used to have
Sure.
the same situation with my people. If I'd want to take a kid who was kind of a tweener between a running back and an offensive guard, and if I want to move him to offensive guard, he wouldn't want to do that because he doesn't get the stats, he doesn't get the touchdowns, he doesn't get the touches. You have to be a selfless person to accept that role and understand that it's just as important
Very true.
as the offensive stat glory position, right? I mean, how do you get that across to your players?
I just kept saying, this is vital. If
Right.
we want to be effective, if we want to be conference champs again, we're going to need a defender
Sure.
like you. We're going to need someone that doesn't need the notoriety. We're going to need someone that isn't about the stats and that puts the team first in the back. And I need a leader. And she took it graciously. Couple conversations I had to have with her, but overall, she took it on and did a wonderful, wonderful job for us.
Sarah Dawson, how tough is it if you're used to scoring goals and having a chance to move around the net area? Your coach tells you, you know what, I want you to go play defense. Is that a tough pill to swallow for you, or did you kind of take it in stride?
It was definitely a transition. There were definitely times that I wished I could be up, but I knew where my team needed me.
Is there ever a time when you can, as a defensive player, I don't watch a ton of soccer, so you're going to have to educate me. Is there ever a time when you can get a steal and have some green in front of you and jump into the offensive end, or is that forbidden?
Yeah, I can do that a lot, especially with my other defender, Maria Engel. She covers for me a lot, and that helps me go up. And also on corner kicks is my time to go up.
So those set pieces, you get a chance to get involved with those
Yes.
on the corners. What's your job there?
For corners, header goals.
So you people are lunatics.
Yeah.
You header people. So you fly in there with no regard to your body, launch yourself at the ball, and try to knock it off your head into the goal, right?
Anything to make it go in.
And then you're going to collide with 8 people because it's a really congested area, right? Aren't you going to collide with 6 or 7 defenders when you do that?
Sometimes.
Sometimes, no problem, right? You've got to be really proud, though, Sarah, and all joking aside, with the success that your team had this year. I mean, to win that conference championship again with the tough competition that you faced, it's got to be a great feeling, right?
Oh, yeah, it's the best.
How do you guys make the decision when you're looking at a spring sports season and you have track and you have softball and you have soccer all available to you at Jonesville? How do you make the decision of which sport to play?
I mean, it's definitely a tough decision, but it's definitely where our heart is. Right. I love soccer, so that's just what I decided to do.
Johnny Collard is here as well. Johnny, what was your role on the team this year?
Well, I was left defense in the back, and this was my first year playing soccer, and it was really new, and I didn't know any soccer term. And I remember going into our first game at, where was it, Lumen Christi? And we actually played on a turf field, and I came home with dirt on me, and there's no dirt on the field.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Johnny, the conditioning factor with soccer to me is incredible. I mean, I would last 2 or 3 minutes at the most out there. You guys play 80 minutes, 2 40-minute halves. How do you train and get in good enough shape to be able to play for most of a game or a whole game? Is it a lot of conditioning at practice or in the off season?
Yes, but we do a lot of drills with running, so we're doing footwork as well as conditioning ourselves. And it was a lot different coming from a sport where I play volleyball and basketball, and it was a lot of hard work to come out and start because I had to help out the team a lot, and I didn't know anything about soccer, so definitely coming out and not being as conditioned as all these girls was pretty tough.
I couldn't do it, and I respect you for doing it and making that transition. It looks like a lot of fun, though. There's so much wide open space out there, and if you have a nice day and you're out there in a competitive match, it's got to be a blast, right?
Oh, yeah, especially in the rain. I really like playing
You like
in
the
rain.
mud,
Yeah.
and no problem, huh? I wanted to ask you, Olivia, before we wrap that. Thank you, Johnny. I had one other question for Olivia before we wrap this up. We're talking to the Jonesville soccer team. You come into the year, you mentioned that you had your child
Yeah.
during the tryouts.
It was maybe the week after. It was flirting with tryouts.
I think the
first
big
after.
story here, I don't want to bury the lead. I think the big
Sorry.
story here is that Jonesville soccer coach delivers child and still coaches season. I have to think that has got to be very difficult to do. How did you handle just giving birth and still trying to coach your team?
Well, one of my flaws is it's really hard for me to let go, and I
Right.
knew we had a great bunch of girls coming out this year. I worked with them in the off season and conditioning and things like that. I had a wonderful interim coach in Mike Hunter that helped out when I was gone for the 6 weeks. My girls kept me posted every step of the way when they had scrimmages or games. And then I came back the second week of April, so about 5 weeks after the baby, and I didn't feel like I missed a beat. So I know that was a lot to do with the girls keeping me up to date, Mike being an awesome interim coach, and then I had a great assistant coach in Arby Marsh. And so I didn't feel like I missed a beat. A lot of people told me, you're not going to want to go back, you're not going to want to go back, you're going to want to be with a baby. But I had a nice husband that stayed at home, so I was home for most of the time during the day, and then I got to sneak out to be with my other girls. So it was a really great combination for the spring for me.
It's really an inspirational story about what your team has accomplished up there in Jonesville. 2 consecutive conference championships, and I got to feel like you're really excited to get going again next year and maybe even surpass what you were able to do this year.
Of course. I think that's every coach's dream is to do better
Right.
than the year before. We have a lot of girls coming back. We're a little bit more motivated. I think we're a little bit more hungry after Saturday's loss. And we really want to bring home our first district title for Jonesville.
Olivia Varney's the head coach at Jonesville with the soccer team. We've talked tonight with Sarah Dawson and Johnny Collard, and a lot of the girls are here, and I really appreciate them being here, and especially baby Varney over there, who is just a perfect child. Not one peep. I think she sneezed one time, but other than that, not one peep. Thank you so much for being here, Olivia.
Well, thank you for having us.
Congratulations. That's a wonderful, wonderful accomplishment this year.